if you don't already know me, I'm Alicia. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm joining you from the native lands of the Ktunaxa, Spokane, and Shuswap tribes, now known as Spokane, Washington. And we'll be fully seated in the chair today, so I have a sturdy chair on a non-skid surface, and I also have a couple of blankets. So within that context, let me know if there's anything specific you'd like to cover, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. And in the meantime, we can go ahead and get set up in the chair. So let's start with the feet on the floor. We want to be able to have our feet flat on the floor so we have a nice stable base. If your legs are shorter, you could take one of those folded blankets under the feet to raise the floor up to you. Or if you're like me and your legs are on the longer side, you might opt for a folded blanket under your bum. So know that you can use your blankets to adjust the height of the chair as well as the height of the floor. And then you want your knees roughly over your ankles, or the ankles could even be slightly in front of the knees, with the knees relaxing a comfortable distance apart. And let's also take the skin out and back from each hip, so that we can feel the sitting bones more fully in the chair. And I forgot to grab my pillow, but another option is for you to have a firm throw pillow. I'm sitting towards the front of my chair, and that may or may not work for you. Another option would be to tuck a firm throw pillow in behind your back, so between your back and the backrest of the chair, or you might just scoot all the way back and use the full support of the backrest of the chair. And then from here, let's feel our feet, feel our seat. Let our spine lengthen up comfortably tall. You could play with the feeling of maybe a light washcloth or something on the top of your head, and you're gently lifting up into that weight. And that might make your chin tuck slightly, so that you're bringing some additional length to the back of the neck. We can roll the shoulders forward up towards the ears, and then let the shoulders soften back and down. And then from this basic overall alignment, what kind of other adjustments would you like to make for yourself, so that you can feel strong and stable in your base, but also comfortable and relaxed? And if you haven't practiced with me before, please keep in mind this is completely your practice. So think of anything that I'm going to offer as invitations, and then tune into your own bodily wisdom and your own inner teacher, and let those be your primary guides for our time together. And in a moment, I'm going to invite the bell. That will drop us into the centering portion of our practice. And from there, we'll transition to some gentle seated movements. As I was mentioning, we'll be seated for the whole class today. And then we'll finish up with some breath work and some integration and relaxation time. So you're welcome to soften the gaze down. You could rest your gaze on a point on the floor a few feet in front of you, something that's stationary, or you might choose to close the eyes down completely. And now I'll invite the bell to drop us in. As we're all getting settled in, let's take a moment to acknowledge that the tradition of yoga originated thousands of years ago in ancient India. And shifting gears, let's direct the awareness down into the feet. Noticing the sensations there. And it may help to wiggle the toes or shift the feet in some sort of way. Sometimes moving that part of the body a little bit can aid in directing your awareness to the sensations there. And notice the texture and the firmness of the ground beneath the feet. And pick up on changes in temperature. You could also place your hands on top of the knees and hinge forward slightly from the hips, adding some additional pressure down through the knees and into the lower legs, ankles, and feet. Noticing how this changes your experience there. If you were trying that, you can let it go, hinging back up. Noticing the change when you release the pressure. And let's check in with the sensations of the bum in the chair. Here you might try shifting the weight side to side, forward and back. Feel the sitting bones rolling on the chair. And notice any similarities or differences with your experience of the bum in the chair as compared to the feet on the floor. In the seated position, these are both parts of our base. This is where you're in contact with the most support, where you can receive grounding. And you can come back to these tools throughout your day. And maybe you want to shift gears, get out of your mind and your head some, and more back into your body. Sometimes that can be down-regulating for the nervous system, to feel where you're in contact and to receive any support you have beneath you. So if you were standing, that might be just beneath the feet. Or if you were lying down, that could be the entire back body. So you can adapt this to different positions. And start to notice your breath. It may help to take a hand to the belly or one hand to the chest, one hand to the belly. And without intentionally changing your breath, simply notice how your body is moving. Observing how each inhale tends to be more of an expansion quality, maybe even a lengthening up of the spine. And each exhale tends to be more of a softening and a settling quality. And observe if there are any thoughts and emotions that are at the surface for you today. And I thought we could focus on the theme of I can center myself amidst the storm. And we're going to also incorporate a mudra if you're open to that. So you can take your thumbs and fold them in towards the palms and gently wrap the other 4 fingers around the thumb. You can rest the palms facing down on your thighs or palms facing up, whichever's most comfortable for you. This is Adi Mudra. It's spelled A-D-I. And this can be a mudra to bring in some centering. This is also something you could do throughout your day, maybe at your desk or waiting in line somewhere. You're in control of how much pressure you have around your thumb. So let's observe the qualities of this mudra, and we'll come back to it throughout the practice. We'll take some time to pause and check in, reground and recenter ourselves. Let's let that mudra go if you are experimenting with it. Take a few breaths after you release the mudra. Notice how that feels. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes if they were closed or lift the gaze and reorient to your space visually. If you're ready for some intuitive movement, you can start to bring that in as well. So what kind of movement seems interesting, or maybe there were some parts of the body that are asking for some extra attention now after you had an extra few minutes of stillness and centering. So see if you can stay curious and open. Think of yourself as exploring and experimenting. Noticing how different movements feel in your body right now, because it's going to change from practice to practice. So maybe you need something different today. Be open to that. And at any point now or throughout the practice, if closing your eyes feels supportive, that's another tool that you can use to help bring your awareness more inward. And really checking in with your own bodily experience. So whenever you're complete with those movements, let's bring it on back through center. Resetting the feet if you need to, re-lengthening the spine. And let's start with some circles of the torso. And there's an option here to begin the process of linking up the movement to the breath, letting your breath be the guide. You could play with inhaling as you come back and exhaling as you come forward. But keep in mind there's no right or wrong here, so you could try the opposite of what I'm offering, or maybe it's just not feeling right for you to link the movement and the breath together. That's okay. As I was mentioning, it's about following what's feeling right for you. There's lots of little variations here. You could play with dipping one shoulder first if that feels good. Your circles can be as small or large as you like. Make all of these movements your own. And next time you come through center, let's reverse and go the opposite direction. And notice how these movements change the sensations in your base. Feeling that weight shift from one foot to the other, one sitting bone to the other. And are there any differences from side to side? And if you do notice differences, that's perfectly normal. Once you feel even both ways, let's come on back through center again. Let's lengthen up the spine with the next inhale, re-soften the shoulders. And on the next exhale, let's tuck the chin first towards the throat. And then you can lower the chin any amount more in the direction of the chest. Next inhale, let's roll one ear towards the shoulder. And exhale, taking the chin back towards the chest. Inhale, opposite ear towards the shoulder. And from here, find your own rhythm. You have the option again to let your breath guide you. So whatever the natural rhythm of your breath, you could match the pace of your movement to that. Let's take it once more to each side. And finishing up, rolling back through center. Let's go ahead and inhale, take the arms wide, stretching out through the fingertips, bringing them up, and then exhale the palms together through heart center, making big circles here. Inhale, sweeping the arms around and up. Exhaling down through center. Keep going at your own pace. You can also play with your gaze here. You might follow the hands down. Lift the gaze as the hands are coming up. And you also be getting some movement in the head and neck up and down. Let's do one more. And let's go ahead and move through a few rounds of seated sun salutations. Actually, before we do that, that'll pick up the energy a little bit. Let's pause again. Let's take Adi Mudra if you would like. Remember, that's thumb in towards the palm and then wrapping the fingers around. Palms can be facing down on the thighs or up, whichever is most comfortable, or you could experiment with one or the other. We'll do it a couple more times. So notice how this feels. Feel your base, feel your feet in your seat. Feel the connection and weight of your hands on the thighs. And maybe you even let a gentle smile upturn the corners of the mouth. Coming back to our center. Let's let that mudra go. Take a few breaths with the hands open on the thighs, palms down or palms up. And notice any contrast between when you were holding the mudra and now that you're not. Now we'll go ahead and go on to our seated sun salutations. So with your next inhale, let's bring the arms up wide as you need to accommodate your shoulders. And as you're coming up, lengthening the spine, you could even tip back for a small back bend here. The gaze could come up slightly. And then on the exhale, releasing the hands down to the thighs. You can take your knees a little bit wider, your stance a little bit wider, and hinging forward from the hips. And that wider stance might make a little more space for the belly. Let's take a full breath here. So on your forward fold, you could be hands on the thighs. If there's more space, you could always walk the hands down towards the feet or the floor. Let's press down through the feet to hinge back up. At the top, let's inhale, squeeze one knee in. Exhale, lower it down. Next inhale, let's open the belly and the chest forward, sliding the hands back towards the hip creases, elbows in close to the body. Gaze might come up. So you're bringing an arch into your back here. And on the next exhale, sliding the fingertips towards the knees, rounding the back and tucking the chin. Inhale, arching the back to our cow position. And exhale, rounding the back to cat. Let's do one more round of this. Coming back through center on the next inhale, and then squeezing the opposite knee up. Exhale, lower it down. Let's inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale to hinge forward from the hips, so long spine from the sitting bones all the way out through the top of the head. Let's take another breath here. On your next inhale, press down through the feet, hinging up, arms coming up, and exhaling the palms through heart center. Let's go another round here. Inhaling the arms up, soft shoulders, but a long spine, little back bend if you choose. Exhale, hands to the thighs, hinging forward from the hips on an exhale. Another full breath here. On an inhale, press down through the feet, hinging back up, squeezing one knee in. Exhale, lower it down. Inhale, opening the chest and belly, arching the back to your cow. Exhale, rounding the back to cat. 2 more rounds here. Find your own rhythm. Inhale, coming back through center and bringing the other knee in. Exhale, lower it down. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale, hinging forward. Inhale, press down through the feet, hinging up. Arms come up. And exhale, the palms through heart center. We'll go one more time here and go at completely your own pace. I'm going to be quiet. I'll move along with you. So really make this your own. Don't worry about getting it, quote, right or not. What feels good for you? Whenever you're complete with that last round, option to take Adi Mudra again. Noticing your feet in your seat, feeling the grounding there. Notice your breath. And returning to our original intention, I can center myself amidst the storm. You have these tools to center yourself. They're already inside of you. You can let that mudra go. Take a few breaths to notice any differences now that you've released the mudra. Let's go ahead and do some hip walking. So you might want to bring your feet a little closer towards hip width distance apart if you had them wider. And to do this, you press down through one foot and you move that same side hip. So if you're towards the front of your chair, you'll start by hip walking back. And if you're towards the back of your chair, you'll start by hip walking forward. So you can press down into, let's say, the right foot, move that same side hip, and then switch to the other side. And then just keep slowly working your way in one direction of the chair. When you get to the end of that direction, reverse and come back. Find a pace that you like. Let's finish up wherever you were at when you started. And let's root down through the left leg and foot and make some knee circles. So this is very individual. You could bring your foot any amount off the floor. You can drag the foot along the floor when you come down, or you could hover. But check in with your breath. That might help you decide how you want to move. So if you find you're holding your breath, that might mean you're trying too hard. So maybe make your circle smaller or not as high off the floor, because this is quite a bit of work. And then let's reverse and go the opposite direction. And notice if one direction is more challenging than the other. Let's finish up with one more circle. Bring that right foot down. Let's give that leg a shake out in whatever way feels good. I always like to move my knees in and out, but you might have something else that you like to loosen up the legs. Let's keep rooting down through the left leg and foot and extend the right leg, keeping the right knee soft with the heel to the floor, foot gently flexed back. Let's windshield wiper that foot side to side. And with the foot flexed back, that keeps your knee and foot tracking in the same direction, and it also brings some movement all the way up into the hip area. Let's bring the foot back through center and roll the ankle one direction and the other direction. Let's point and flex the right foot, wiggling the toes if you'd like. And let's bring that right foot back in. Let's check in, notice any differences side to side now that we've done the right side but haven't yet done the left. It's okay if you don't notice any differences. Sometimes it's just kind of fun to check in. Let's root down through the right leg and foot this time and make some knee circles with the left. So be prepared for there to be differences side to side. Like I mentioned, that's perfectly normal. So this side may need something different. I can definitely feel that for myself. I think I'm even going to brace myself a bit with my hands on the lower back part of my chair. I feel like I need that for this side. But tune into your breath. If you're holding your breath, back off a little bit. Let's reverse and go the opposite direction. One more. Keep rooting down through the right leg and foot, extending the left leg, keeping a soft left knee, gently flexing the foot back, and windshield wipering side to side. Let's bring it back through center and then roll the left ankle one direction. And other direction. Point and flex the foot. Wiggling the toes. And let's bring that left foot back to meet the right. Shake out the legs. And let's heel toe the feet a little bit wider. And we still want the knees to be roughly over the ankles, or the ankles could even be slightly in front of the knees, but we want to kind of stack the knees over the ankles. So if your knees are falling in, you can use the muscles to press them out, or it might also mean that you could take your stance slightly less wide. That might be more comfortable for you. Let's inhale to lengthen the spine. And then on the exhale, let's hinge forward from the hips. So hinging forward from the hips means that rather than hunching down and letting your chest collapse, you're keeping the chest open and the spine long. Think of from the sitting bones all the way up through the top of the head. So long, low back. And lots of options here. You could stay with your hands on your thighs for support as you're lengthening. If there's more space, you can always come down to forearms. And if there's still more space, you can always walk your hands down your legs towards the feet or the floor. Once you get to wherever you're going, you have the option to release your head and neck down. You could slowly nod the head yes, and shake the head no. Let's take one more breath wherever you are. Bring the head and neck back into line with the rest of the spine, and then press down through your feet as you're engaging your belly, hinging back up, using the support of your hands. When you come back up top, we'll take a pause. Option to take Adi Mudra again. Coming back to your center, regrounding, feeling where you're in contact with the floor and the chair. Feeling your hands in the shape of Adi Mudra. Observing your breath. Then if you were holding the mudra, let it go. Still noticing how you're feeling. Now let's go ahead and grab one of our blankets. Thought we could play with something kind of fun here, a little bit of a balance challenge with some tree pose. But we'll use our blanket. Let's fold it up really as small, probably as you can get it. We're going to use something soft like a blanket on top of our head, and then that can be a form of balancing for us. So let's just keep the blanket. Let's start with the left leg, rooting down through the left leg and foot, and we'll rest our blanket there for now. And then let's turn the right leg out slightly. And then bring that right heel back towards the leg of your chair. So you're propping that right heel on the right leg of the chair, letting the right knee fall open. And then check in here. See how you're feeling. How does your balance feel? Just moving the legs in this way. So let's try to keep the spine long and the shoulders soft. And you're welcome to stay right here, or if you'd like to challenge your balance, you can take that folded up little blanket and you can place it on the top of your head. So remember at the beginning of the practice when we were centering, we were gently lifting up into that imaginary washcloth. So you could use that right now to help lengthen your spine and the back of your neck, lightly pressing up into that blanket. And notice how simply adding the blanket changes the dynamics here and challenges your balance. And it's okay if you're wobbly or if your blanket falls off. You can reset and try it again. And if you'd like to play some more, and this will challenge your balance again, you can extend both arms like your tree branches. Maybe even wiggling the fingers, letting those leaves move on the little branches. And maybe there's a little wind coming by. Maybe your trunk swaying from side to side. All of these things change the challenge. Your trunk might be slightly twisting in the wind. Maybe it's bending a little bit to one side and the other. Get creative. Explore your tree in different ways. Let's bring those branches back in. Release the blanket. Notice how you feel releasing that weight from the top of your head. And then let's bring that right foot back to the floor. And we'll go ahead and do the other side. So let's switch the blanket to the right leg. So we're rooting down through the right leg and foot, turning the left knee out, and then bringing the left heel back to the left front leg of the chair. So when we're always going side to side, you might need something different. So maybe you don't want that left knee turned out as much. Maybe you want to turn it out further. But honor whatever is true for you on this side. and see how your balance is feeling right here. Staying right here, or if you'd like to play with adding the blanket in again, you can take that folded blanket to the top of the head, gently lifting up into the blanket with a long spine, long neck, and soft shoulders. Keeping the breath flowing. Staying wherever you're at, or if you want to play with extending your branches, moving your leaves, and maybe even swaying your trunk. Check in with your jaw and tongue and your lips. Soften them if you're gripping there. That also might be another cue that you're trying too hard. No worries if your blanket falls down. If you choose, you can reset it again or go without. Whatever you need on this side. Let's bring those branches back in. Release the blanket from the head. You can set the blanket off to the side for right now. And bring both legs to face forward, both feet to the floor. Let's take Adi Mudra again if you're open to doing that. Check in and notice how you're feeling. Coming back to your center by feeling your feet on the floor, your bum in the chair. Feeling the qualities of Adi Mudra. Observing your breath. And then releasing Adi Mudra. Still observing how you feel. We'll go ahead and finish up our movement with a couple more movements of the spine. Let's go side to side. So you can do this with your arms down or up. Let's start with them down. They might be hanging at your side with the palms facing in, or you could also incorporate using a grip on the seat of the chair. So let's let one hand get heavy towards the floor. And inhale back to center. Exhale, other hand getting heavy towards the floor. Inhale to center. You could keep going like this, or you might try taking that top arm overhead. And in this case, maybe that bottom hand, you want to grip the seat of the chair to help with balance. Inhale, center. Exhale, taking it to the other side. Make sure you're keeping both sitting bones firmly rooted in the chair. Let's take it once more to each side. Coming back through center, and then let's take some twists. So let's inhale the arms up, and then exhale. Go ahead and take your twist one direction. Your front hand could come to the outside of the thigh, back hand to the back of the chair. And we're not using the hands to crank the twist around, we're just using them for support to help hold us in the twist. Inhale back to center. Exhale, taking the twist in the opposite direction. Let's go with the breath here a few more times and then we'll hold. Let's hold on this next one. Lengthening the spine, feeling your feet in your seat. Let's do 3 full breaths here. Inhale, unwinding to center, and then exhale, taking your twist in the opposite direction. You can always take that free hand, smooth the flesh of your chest up and in to make space for your arm if you'd like. 3 full breaths on this side. After your third exhale, whenever it comes, inhaling to center and exhaling the arms down. And from here, take any other intuitive movements that you'd like before we settle in for some stillness. Getting into any places that are asking for your attention that maybe we haven't touched on, or maybe there's some places that want more of something that we did. And whenever you're complete with that, let's go ahead and grab our extra blanket, opening it up wide, and then folding it in half the long direction. And then from that long direction, let's roll the blanket down so we're headed towards a scarf-like shape. And then you can take the blanket around behind the back of the neck. You could cross the blanket in front like a scarf and then tuck it under your arms, or you could just tuck it under your arms straight away. Adjusting how much tension you have on the back of the neck. Think of support rather than tension so that your neck can relax. Maybe you scoot all the way back in the chair if you haven't been already. But find a position where you're more comfortable. Whatever that means for you. You can soften the gaze down or close the eyes. And let's take a few bees breaths. So to do that, the inhale is through the nose. And the exhale is also out through the nose with the mouth closed, but you're making a humming sound on the exhale. So that humming sound creates a light constriction in the back of the throat. So it's like an almost like you're making an that's good sound, like an M sound. And then that little constriction in the back of your throat is going to lengthen your exhale. So let your exhale be as long and slow and complete. And then let your next inhale arise naturally. And we'll do that a few times if you're open to it. If at any point that doesn't feel good or you feel light of breath, let it go. Let your breath return to its natural rhythm. So we'll give it a try if you're open. Inhaling through the nose. Exhale. Feel the vibrations in your face, in your lips, other areas of the body, maybe the chest and shoulders. Let's do one more. Letting your breath find its own rhythm again. Option to take Adi Mudra or not one last time. Returning to your center. Grounding through the feet and the seat. Might have some other touch points you could use for grounding now. Maybe the sensation of the blanket around you. Your back against the chair. And let your awareness lightly rest on the exhale. As we discussed in the beginning, each exhale is an opportunity for softening and settling. So you can use that as your constant cue and reminder to soften and settle into the support beneath you. I can settle myself in the midst of the storm. I can center myself in the midst of the storm. Release Adi Mudra. Taking your own time, you can invite some small movements back into the body, possibly beginning out at the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, and then making your way towards any larger movements that feel best to wake the body back up. Opening the eyes if they were closed, or lifting the gaze and reorienting to your space. If you'd like to join me to close, you can take one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. May I greet my body with gentleness. May I soften when life invites me to harden. May I listen to my intuition with wisdom and trust it with ease. And may I appreciate my body a little more in this moment, just as it is. And then we can bring the hands together in front of the heart. Let's take one breath together. We'll inhale and exhale. Thank you all so much for choosing to share your time and your practice with me today.